Hello, you're watching VTV News, brought to you live from Hanoi. I'm Michael Liu, and here's the top news coming your way. 2016 considered successful year for the banking sector. Then later on, Vietnamese retailers to cope with foreign competition. And finally, restoring Hue's garden houses. The first of 2017 will be a challenging year for the State Bank of Vietnam, otherwise called the SBV. The institution is tasked with the mission of controlling inflation, stabilizing macroeconomics and sustaining reasonable growth. However, 2016 proved to be a successful year for banking authorities. The SBV reveals that it has effectively supplied cash, paving the way for banks to stabilize deposit rates and reduce interest rates. Over 280,000 government bonds have been supplied. Moreover, credit growth increased by 18.71%, surpassing the target of 16 to 18%. Meanwhile, bad debts have been reduced to 2.46%. The State Bank of Vietnam will continue to solve existing financial issues with Sacombank, Đông Á Bank, Ocean Bank, CB Bank and CP Bank. Now, besides Vietnam Airlines and Vietnamtex, the Hanoi Electromechanical Manufacturing JSC and Likoji 12 JSC have also officially been listed on the Upcom share listing. Meanwhile, during the closing months of 2016, some other state-owned companies also launched their initial public offerings, including PV Power and PV Oil. Nearly 400 state-owned enterprises were equitized last year, according to the Ministry of Finance. So will this trend influence the stock market? Let's listen to the market watchers and players in the following report.
As many top-performing large-scale companies have joined the stock market, I think this could be a good opportunity for large foreign investors. It also helps create a foundation to develop the stock market in the coming time.
There will be opportunities for more professional investors in 2017. This also means short-term investment, and companies with poor performance will find investment more difficult to secure, as they will look for the best and large corporations for investment.
I think the scale of the stock market will increase. It could account for at least 50% of total GDP this year. The VN Index could also reach 750 points.
Equitization means improved transparency, but at the same time, managers also face challenges in balancing interests between stakeholders, including investors, shareholders, and customers. They have to ensure both profits and sustainable development.
We do hope that more investors will pay attention to our shares, so we'll have capital to develop our input, brand, infrastructure and markets, both domestically and abroad in the long run.
After Vietnam Airlines was listed, Upcom's capitalization increased 11%. The participation of large corporations such as Vietnam Airlines in stock market has improved transparency and accountability, and thereby enhanced the economy's competitiveness.
The participation of such businesses in the stock market can help Vietnam join other emerging securities markets in the next 2 to 3 years. Meanwhile, in the short term, the state divestment process can be sped up.
Now, the US, China, Japan and South Korea were the 4 biggest importers of Vietnamese products, each with a value of more than $10 billion in 2016. According to the latest statistics from the General Department of Vietnam Customs, the US was the largest consumer of Vietnamese products, with an import value of nearly $35 billion in the first 11 months of 2016, followed by China's $19 billion, Japan's $13 billion and the South Korea with $11 billion. The 4 markets accounted for nearly half of Vietnam's total export revenue. Now, export revenue and growth from FDI firms doubles that of domestic businesses in 2016, according to the Ministry of Planning and Investment. 2016's five-year record high export revenue has been largely attributed to FDI enterprises.
Samsung has been investing in Vietnam for 20 years. In 2016, its export revenue exceeded $36 billion, accounting for over 20% of Vietnam's total export turnover.
40% of Samsung mobile phone production worldwide is from Vietnam. In 2007, when Vietnam first produced mobile phones, export revenue of this product reached $1 billion. Now it has become our top export product.
In recent years, FDI enterprises like Samsung have become the driving force of Vietnam's export growth. In 2010, export turnover of FDI enterprises reached $39 billion, accounting for more than half of Vietnam's export revenue. In 2016, it accounted for over 71% of Vietnam's export revenue, standing at nearly $126 billion.
FDI năm nay xuất siêu khoảng 23 tỷ đô la Mỹ.
FDI enterprises recorded a trade surplus of $23 billion in 2016. Meanwhile, the trade deficit of domestic firms exceeded $20 billion. FDI enterprises have helped Vietnam obtain a trade surplus of $3 billion.
FDI enterprises work in most of Vietnam's key export sectors, including mobile phones, textiles and garments, electronics, and footwear production. FDI businesses have contributed to modernizing Vietnam's production and more.
FDI enterprises create employment for Vietnamese workers, especially those in export sectors. They contribute to the state budget by paying income tax as well as taxes on trade. More importantly, FDI firms have pushed Vietnam to improve the business climate and policies.
However, there are concerns about Vietnam's export sector being too dependent on FDI firms. Experts have stressed the importance of boosting links between FDI and domestic businesses, helping domestic firms further integrate into global value chains.
Now, the last month of 2016 witnessed a drastic hike in the number of imported cars, according to the General Statistics Office. Car import turnover reached 16,000 vehicles in December 2016, representing an increase of 4,000 as compared to November. December's movement brought the total number of imported cars in 2016 to 115,000, worth a total value of $2.3 billion. Among these cars, those imported from Southeast Asian nations such as Thailand and Indonesia experienced the most dramatic rate of increase. Researchers have attributed this to the new favourable tax policy and economical benefits. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and Ministry of Science and Technology held an agricultural joint forum with over 100 scientists to brainstorm on the restructuring of the agricultural sector in the context of urban development and climate change adaptation.
Vietnam's agriculture sector has faced many difficulties in the past 3 years due to natural disasters and adverse changes in the market. Despite these issues, the sector's growth still reached nearly 3% a year. This result was thanks to the increased application of science and technology in agriculture.
Scientific and technological advances contributed to a 40% growth in agriculture, depending on the specific field. The results of science and technologies have been applied in all stages of agricultural production process, from research, plant breeding, livestock, and fisheries.
After 3 years of restructuring, scientists have created 149 new plant breeds and varieties, 65 technological processes, and 35 technical advances in many agricultural fields. Many scientists also said that agriculture has so far underutilized these advantages and lacked mechanisms and policies to make full use of scientific advances.
Our spending on science and technologies is not suitable. This is a weakness that we need to improve. Also, infrastructure. There are labs that have received millions of dollars in investment, but are lying unused. The government should make use of capital from business and farmers, and cooperate with businesses, farmers, and scientists to promote application of science and technologies in agriculture.
Vietnam is one of the countries most severely affected by the impact of climate change. And in the context of increasing global economic integration, the development of scientific and technological research in agricultural development is becoming ever more urgent.
Now, the retail sector achieved total revenue of $118 billion in 2016, an increase of 10.2% as compared to the previous year. Analysts have identified this growth as relatively high as compared to other markets in the region. Retail areas that underwent the strongest booms include food, home appliances and educational equipment. The influx of foreign retail businesses over recent times has put domestic enterprises at risk of being taken over. Conquering all market segments, this market entrance by foreign retailers can be seen as a tripod strategy which urges domestic firms to redevelop.
In 2016, Thai companies successfully acquired major wholesale and retail companies in Vietnam. First, it was Metro, then Nguyễn Kim and Big C. According to the Hanoi Supermarket Association, Thai retail businesses have acquired over 50% of total market share in Vietnam.
Foreign strategy aims to cover all customer segments and meet their requirements. First, they will introduce affordable products to customers, then those of higher values.
According to the Japan External Trade Organization, the tripod strategy is the result of long-term market research on Vietnamese consumer preferences and distribution channels in Vietnam by foreign retailers. This has been forcing local retailers to re-evaluate their businesses. This is seen in the cooperation among Vietnamese retailers, with companies like Vingroup tying up with 250 local businesses, while FPT has partnered with Vinamilk.
Foreign firms are very professional, therefore we have to try different ways to adapt to keep up with their pace. Horizontal cooperation is one of the solutions.
Though the future remains unknown, it is more likely that adaptability is the first and foremost task of foreign retailers to cope with increasing expansion of foreign businesses.
Vietnam has concluded a number of labour cooperation agreements with countries such as Thailand or Australia in the last few years. Following these deals, Vietnamese workers now have higher chances of working overseas, with jobs promising them higher wages and better working conditions. Let's take a closer look in the following report.
This training center has incorporated more training programs for students with farming backgrounds. Based on their interests and abilities, these students will be organized into appropriate classes.
Working in Japan, I will learn more about their technology and apply it to my work in Vietnam once I come back.
We have been trained thoroughly from language to practice. I hope to master all of the knowledge to meet the requirements from my employer to become more skilled.
According to the Ministry of Labor, Invalids and Social Affairs, more labor export opportunities await these students.
Skilled laborers are more preferred than those from blue-collar jobs. We require those with better skills and foreign languages. Therefore, they can better benefit from working overseas, especially in terms of working, living conditions and wages.
As the markets have been more demanding, Vietnamese workers have to prepare themselves in terms of health conditions, foreign languages and skills. Moreover, Vietnamese companies have to improve their training programs to better support students.
Vietnam sent about 110,000 workers abroad in 2016. Labor exports have generated jobs and improved income for people, as well as increased foreign currency resources for their nation.
Moving on to some of the news, Bắc Province granted an investment license to An Khánh thermal power plant on Tuesday. This is considered a major step forward for the region's energy sector. The $1 billion plant is slated to produce 650 megawatts and start selling commercial electricity by 2023. It is expected to contribute $44 million to the state's budget every year. So how's the Vietnamese dong performing today? Let's find out in our following charts. Still to come on VTV News, Cambodia-Vietnam Friendship Monument. And later on, restoring Hue's garden houses. Stay tuned for more to come in just a moment. Welcome back to VTV News. Now, the Cambodia-Vietnam Friendship Monument and the Independence Tower were inaugurated in the Cambodian province of Kampong Chang on Tuesday. It marked Cambodia's 38 years of victory against the Khmer Rouge of Pol Pot's regime and 50th anniversary of Cambodian-Vietnamese diplomatic ties. The monument was constructed in 1989 to mark the 10th anniversary of the victory over the Pol Pot's regime. It underwent $350,000 worth of repairs in 2016, funded by the Vietnam Fatherland Front. 6 fishermen were safely brought to shore by a regional maritime research and rescue coordination centre 2 on Tuesday morning after the vessel floundered in high seas. At midnight on the 2nd of January, Regional Maritime Search and Rescue Coordination Centre 2 received a call from a vessel owned by Lê Văn Mai from Quảng Nam which was drifting and at risk in the high seas. The boat was located to the west of the Paracel Islands. The 6 crew were facing 3-metre-high waves and made an emergency call. The fishermen were safely located at 4:45 p.m. the same day, and they were escorted back to land. 3 men have been arrested in Ha Tinh province for trafficking wildlife. A bus was found to be carrying 12 frozen langurs on December 28th in Kỳ Anh's district, Kỳ Thọ commune. Initial investigation determined Triệu Thị Cúc Phương as the owner of the shipment. Further investigation resulted in the arrest of Hoàng Văn Tường and Lê Xuân Huế on January 2nd. Hoàng Văn Tường confessed to the police that the langurs were purchased from hunters in Quảng Bình province and were being transported for sale. Now, the National Traffic Safety Commission conducted an opening ceremony for the Year of Traffic Safety to guarantee order and safety on the roads for the New Year's holiday season of 2017. The event followed the spirit of the UN's programme titled Decade to Take Action for Road Traffic Safety for the period of 2011 to 2020. Authorities have established an elaborate plan to educate younger generations and raise awareness about traffic safety among the public. Many communications programs will take place to promote drivers' responsibility in road action. The Commission has set the target for this year to be a 5 to 10% reduction of road accidents as compared to 2016. Authorities also aim to keep road casualties below 8,500 and reduce traffic congestion in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. In the health sector, confronted with the threat of bird flu in the holiday season, the Department of Preventive Medicine under the Ministry of Health has sent warnings and provided instructions to citizens across Vietnam. Health authorities have warned families against consuming poultry with unknown origins or from sick or deceased animals. Distributors have been strongly discouraged from transporting, trading and processing poultry of unknown origins. Local authorities have urged citizens to immediately report any suspicious signs of health abnormalities associated with poultry.
Trong thời gian nghỉ Tết,
Now, the demand for sustainable and safe fruit and vegetables is increasing, especially in major cities. In addition to supermarkets, consumers in Ho Chi Minh City can now find these products at a green market.
Strawberries, raspberries and macadamia nuts. These are some of the specialties from Dallas City that are stamped with the Vietgap standard and can only be found in green markets like this.
We grow and sell a reasonable amount of fruit. I choose this market because I want to introduce my green and safe fruits to customers.
For this seller, this is the first time she's attended this market.
I really want to find ways to sell my products in domestic supermarkets, but I haven't done much.
This green market also offers other famous agro products, including Phan Rang orange, Da Xanh pomelo, and Binh Thuan dragon fruit. This market is a good opportunity for producers to connect with customers and promote their products.
6 months ago, Ho Chi Minh City's Youth Union began a campaign to turn 6 waste dumps into green spaces. However, only one of them is still maintained and in good condition. This emphasises the importance of raising public awareness in building a green and the clean city.
This used to be the waste dump of the Thanh Da apartment zone. Today, the dumping ground has become a flower garden, thanks to the efforts of the local youth union. But in order to maintain this garden, their efforts might not be enough.
This flower garden is one of the youth union's projects, but in order to maintain it, the support and cooperation of local residents are necessary.
Without public faucet, local households take turns watering this flower garden every day. Even residents who live far away from the garden, like Miss Chin, also carry water to the garden.
Though my house is far from here, I still want to contribute to making this garden a beautiful common space.
People will be willing to join any activity that benefits them and serve the community's well-being.
This flower garden only took 5 days to be completed. But more importantly, the campaign of building this garden raised public awareness and encouraged people's joint efforts. This is a good example of the importance of people's unity in building a better society.
Now, the central city of Hue's garden houses are a vivid example of the former imperial capital's cultural characteristics and the city's cultural heritage. Their existence reflects the history and urbanization of Hue. However, over time, war and natural disasters, the garden houses have largely suffered and many are on the verge of disappearing. Over the past year, a policy to support, protect and promote the values of Hue's garden houses has been implemented, bringing much hope for the owners of the city's garden houses.
Phu Mok Viên, a garden house built in the early 20th century, holds many of the characteristics typical of Hue's garden houses. This is the third garden house to receive renovation work as part of the Thừa Thiên Hue's People Committee project. To protect the houses, thanks to the project funding, the owners of Phu Mok Viên have received over $25,000 to repair the house.
The house is more than a century old. The tiles were already broken. Although we have repeatedly restored it using my own money, we couldn't do much. We'd like to pay a sincere thanks today for helping us restore the house.
The financial support to restore and renovate the garden houses ranged from $20,000 to $35,000. In addition, the house garden owners can also receive loan support for the restoration of their houses. An additional 5 houses are prioritized for renovation by the end of this year.
There
are currently 14 garden houses listed for restoration by 2020. However, there are currently 40 garden houses that require restoration, so we'll continue to monitor these houses as part of the project.
The investment in restoring the Hue garden houses is necessary to preserve and protect the unique value. The restoration work will also contribute to the cities through the tourism benefit. The work has also helped raise awareness among the homeowners about the need to protect the invaluable garden houses.
Now, just before we say goodbye, let's take a look at the latest weather forecast of selected cities around the world. That just concluded this edition of VTV News. Now please log on to VTV4.vn or youtube.com/VTV4Go for more of our content. Goodbye for now and thanks for stopping by.